Developing tonight, while much of the world is focused on the ISIS threat in Iraq and Syria, Islamic radicals are becoming a real concern in another part of the world. 3 years after the liberation of Libya and the ouster and death of leader Muammar Gaddafi, the African nation is now on the brink of a new nightmare. Trace Gallagher live in our West Coast newsroom with the details. Trace?
And Megan, when Western leaders backed the uprising 3 years ago to overthrow Muammar Gaddafi, they were hoping it would lead to a stable democracy in Libya, and there were elections. But now, after a long summer of fighting, those elected leaders have been pushed out of the capital of Tripoli and barricaded themselves in a seaside town some 600 miles away. They're not exactly roughing it. They're holed up in a five-star resort, reportedly smoking water pipes and conducting interviews near the swimming pool. The lawmakers have international backing and are said to be discussing finances and passing laws, including anti-terror legislation. But while the legitimate government is trying to fight terror while seeking refuge, an opposition government with links to Islamists has now taken over the capital, set up a foreign ministry, and taken control of state-run television. They have also been endorsed by Libya's top Islamist and are trying to win hearts and minds by offering food and housing to the poor. Experts say the power grab to share the country's vast oil wealth could easily lead to civil war and spiral the country deeper into chaos. Critics say we broke it but didn't own it. Listen.
All of this would not have happened had the international community taken the situation in Libya seriously and helped the government form a strong army and disarm the armed groups and helped arm the police.
Both sides are reportedly hoping dialogue can solve the crisis. Both sides are also calling for more weapons. Megan.
Trace, thank you. Joining me now with more, General Tom McInerney is a retired Air Force pilot and a Fox News contributor. Good to see you tonight, sir. And so, Libya, we went over there with the coalition. We bombed. We said that they were hurting civilians. Gaddafi died. They said, please stay, NATO, and help us work things out. NATO said, no, I don't really want to. We were out of there, and now it's a hot mess. Do I have it about right?
You got it spot on, Megan. Really, remember, we started out responsibility to protect 2,000 Islamists that were in Benghazi, and Gaddafi was going after them. We broke it, and now you see what we have. We have chaos in Libya, and unfortunately, I believe the radical Islamists are going to gain control.
That's certainly how it looks when the democratically elected parliament is now hauled up at what looks like a Ritz-Carlton by the pool, saying, "Trust us, we're very scared." Can I get another margarita here? No, that's not really. But I'm just saying, it doesn't look like it doesn't look very good for them to regain power at this point.
It does not, and that's going to cascade, I believe, throughout the rest of the Middle East, as we've seen in Syria and what's going on in Iraq. It is not looking good. Fortunately, we have General al-Sisi in Egypt, who has become a strong-armed person that is getting rid of the radical Islamist Muslim Brotherhood. But we are not giving him the assistance in the amounts that we ought to, Megan, and that's very disturbing to me because they are really becoming the bulwark in the Mideast right now.
Right. It's like a domino effect. We've seen them now take over in Iraq. They're, obviously we know what's happening in Syria. Now Libya, the radical Islamists have seized control. And so, I mean, one wonders if we don't get involved militarily in all of these places. And, query whether there's an appetite for that. What the Middle East is going to look like in 5 or 10 years.
Look, that's a great question, but that means the Muslims themselves have got to solve this fight, as your earlier interview in the segment before pointed out. The Muslims themselves have got to get rid of radical Islam. U.S. forces cannot do it. We can assist with air power and certain things like that, but the boots on the ground have got to be the moderate Muslims in the Middle East. They're the only ones that can really defeat radical Islam. And if they don't stand up, which they have not, then they're going to have to live with a world that they're not going to like, and clearly we're not going to like it. It'll be a very dangerous world to us.
General, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Megan.
Well, tonight we are hearing from some Americans who are angry that a man with Ebola was able to so easily fly to the United States when we were all but promised that would not happen. And it gets worse.
The CDC last week said the chance of importing Ebola was infinitesimal, and that was the same day the patient was misdiagnosed in Dallas.